Welcome to the latest Motley Fool Scoreboard. I'm on Unchockable, and we've got longtime fools, Jose Najarro and Dan Kaplinger, giving a 1 to 10 rating to a top 25 stock in the primary Hidden Gems database. It's KLA Corporation, ticker symbol KLAC. Rate the strength of KLA's business first, including factors like industry and competition. A 10 is invincible, a 1 is hopeless. Both of you have 8s, Jose.
Yeah, so I gave it an L8 just because of the current market that we're in, where AI chips is seeing a huge wave of demand, and AI chips are also getting smaller and more complex. And just let me backtrack. KLA, what they do is they sell equipment to the manufacturing of chips to help improve the inspection, to help improve the process control, to help improve yields by identifying defects. And like I mentioned, as we're kind of getting into this market where building chips is intensely hard, you're going to need to find a way to improve those yields, and KLA Corporation helps with that.
Yeah, when you have electronics demand as high as what we've seen lately, KLA's business, it just becomes vitally important to these customers. Without it, they just can't make the most of the opportunities that they have to meet their demand for their end users. And so now is an incredibly important time for KLA. I think it's a really timely stock to look at right now.
For management, a 10 is Warren Buffett, a 1 is Homer Simpson. High scores here. Both of you have 9s, Jose.
Yeah, when it comes to the semiconductor equipment player, I like to rank them on how they've done in previous cycles, because there's always a cycle in the equipment space. So I'd like to see how they've done. And the overall management team, they've been here for a long time. I think the CEO has been there for 36 years, CEO for 20 years. Pretty cool. He started as an application engineer in 1988. But throughout these cycles, we've seen improvements, right? And even if revenue starts to take a hit, companies like this still maintain some positive free cash flow due to kind of the experience they have. So for that reason, the long tenure here in management as well, I'm giving them a 9.
Yeah, stories like Rick Wallace is his CEO here at KLA. I just love to hear them because you really like to have an executive who knows what it was like to be a non-executive employee at the company that they're now running. And I really like the breadth of experience. One thing I also like Wallace is doing, a lot of CEOs, they just sort of randomly seem to end up on the boards of directors of other companies, but Rick has done a better job of kind of picking companies where there's like a relevant relationship. And so one of the areas that he is on the board at is Marvell Technology. I think it's useful to have that kind of insight across the semiconductor area, so you kind of have your head not just in your own business, but in the whole industry. Really like to see that.
Very smart. For financials, a 10 is a fortress, a 1 is yikes. Dan's at an 8. Jose, you're at a 7.
Yeah, so I gave it a 7 just because this is a behemoth in the semiconductor equipment space. And I think when you're a behemoth, you have a lot more to lose when the cycle goes down a little bit. Even though I mentioned previously, management has done really well. They do have a little bit more debt than cash at the moment. And right now, you can only buy so many new equipments as you're building a certain amount of fabs. You can't make a fabs every other day or every other quarter. So for that reason, the cyclicality and the strength, the size of this business is making it a 7 for me.
I gave an extra point here. There are definitely cyclical ups and downs in the financials, but generally there's been a good steady upslope, and I'm comfortable with that. Yeah, there is some debt on the balance sheet. It's not at a problematic level to me. There's plenty of free cash flow there to help support maintaining that debt, also to support investment in capital expenditures that can help expand production capacity if that turns out to be a good strategy. So that's why I was a little more comfortable giving an extra point here.
All right, Dan, let's move on to valuation. How well will KLA's stock do over the next 5 years, and how safe is it? 10's a short thing, 1's a lottery ticket.
Yeah, I was a little conservative here. I went with 5 to 10% on the returns with a safety score of 6. I do think that there is a chance that we're going to see an outsized return more in the 10 to 15% range. The question is whether we get a cyclical downturn in capex across the industry within this 5-year period. These are 5-year returns that we're talking about. I'm comfortable with the projection. KLA's already had a pretty good run up in the stock. And so I think that, this is in line kind of with my broader market look. But yeah, I think that we're probably in a pretty good a good range there. And that's why I'm comfortable with the safety score of 6 as well.
Yeah, for me, I give it 5-year returns of 5 to 10% as well. To me, it's just the overall demand we're seeing in AI chips continue as chips get harder and harder. Their tools are going to be used, but because of their massive size already, I think that's controlling maybe some of the expectations. If you might have seen the Onto episode, I think I gave Onto a little bit more in the 5-year return. Now the safety score, I give it the same for the same reason. If you saw the Onto, is with the cyclicality in the 5 years, I think we're closer to the top on the capex spending. Again, not much closer. Maybe one might be 55% instead of 50%, but I think we're closer to there than the bottom in the cycle. So for those reasons, I'm giving it a safety score of 6 within the next 5 years.
Thank you to Jose and to Dan. They've given KLA Corporation a strong overall score of 7.1 out of 10. With no real top hits, Jose says maybe Lam Research for big equipment players, or Onto Innovation for a small player with high risk-reward opportunity. Look out for a new scoreboard every market day at 7 p.m. Eastern. Next up is Astera Labs. Till then, full on.